and then went home. And then I called Carlton to get Kelly's number. And then I was calling Kelly to get Beyonce's number. And I called Kelly and said, "Hey Kelly." She said, "Yeah." I said, "But I knew it was somebody kind of weird. What's Beyonce's number?" And she said, "This is Beyonce," because they live together and I didn't know it. And bam.
Big Dog and all the 581 ballers. I love y'all.
Beyonce.
Solange, my little sister Angie, Lyndall, I love y'all.
Name one person on this planet who blew a bigger shot at greatness than the boy who let Beyoncé Knowles slip through his fingers. The answer is Lyndall Locke, Houston church kid turned history's loudest what if. Tonight we're cracking open the vault on the love story Beyoncé almost carried into superstardom, and the choices that detonated it. Lyndall Locke still swears he can pinpoint the exact second his life forked away from history. It was a humid Sunday in the summer of 1993, just after the final hymn at St. John's United Methodist in Houston. He was 14, too tall for his sneakers, bored and fidgeting, when Kelly Rowland waved him over to meet a shy girl fussing with the sleeves of her white choir blouse. Beyoncé Giselle Knowles, 12, braid-crowned, eyes big as the Texas sky, smiled, borrowed his pen and wrote a phone number on the back of a sermon program. When she handed the paper back, the corner of her mouth twitched, half nervous, half sure. Lyndall's pulse hit the cymbals. He had no idea he was shaking hands with tomorrow's most famous woman on earth. Beyoncé's childhood looked ordinary on the surface. Family movie nights, Astroworld every spring, rodeo season in February. But under that normal glow burned a furnace of talent and ambition. Her parents, Tina and Matthew Knowles, clocked their daughter's gift early. Beyoncé could tag any note her dance teacher hummed and at 7 outsang teenagers to win the school talent show. By 9, she was enrolled in Houston's Parker Elementary Music Magnet program, singing soprano in the choir and scribbling lyrics in the margins of her spelling homework. Sundays meant solos at St. John's. Weekdays meant rehearsals with Girls Time, the pre-Destiny's Child lineup she formed with Kelly and Latavia Roberson. Even then, she trained like an athlete, push-ups for breath control, evening jogs for endurance, while other kids swapped baseball cards. Lyndall saw none of that. He saw a soft-spoken girl who loved strawberry Skittles and laughed whenever his skateboard tricks went sideways. They spent entire nights on the phone, cordless batteries dying against their cheeks. Their first kiss happened at a Brian McKnight concert when Beyoncé was 15. McKnight drifting into a falsetto run, house lights dimmed, her hands sliding into Lyndall's as naturally as a new lyric. He walked outside afterward, convinced the universe had just handed him its rarest collectible. Yet the universe already had bigger plans for Beyoncé, and she was quietly sprinting toward them. Every few weeks she and Kelly went to visit family in Atlanta, or so Lyndall believed. 2 years later, guilt finally overrode Beyoncé's secrecy. Those weekend trips were showcases for record executives, grueling cattle call auditions where she shed shyness like stage confetti. By then, Girls Time had survived talent show heartbreak on Star Search, but Matthew Knowles, the group's newly self-appointed manager, had brokered another round of meetings. Beyoncé told Lyndall she wanted to be the greatest performer alive. He said he'd cheer for her. He meant it, yet could feel the undertow of distance tugging at his ankles. Destiny struck hard in 1997 when Columbia Records inked Destiny's Child. Radio spun No, 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 and the quartet sprinted from mall stages to MTV countdowns almost overnight. Beyoncé still found time to glide through Lyndall's high school prom in a satin gown, all moonlit poise and dimpled mischief. Friends whispered they were endgame. Lyndall clung to that fairy tale even as the facts warped around him. Beyoncé spent dawn in vocal drills, afternoons memorizing choreography, nights on studio couches. He slept till noon, worked the Galleria food court grill, and floated through pickup hoops and joyrides thick with weed smoke. Matthew Knowles, who measured life in goals per quarter, noticed the gulf. One Sunday dinner he passed Lyndall the mashed potatoes and asked, almost softly, "So what's your plan, son?" Potato steam fogged Lyndall's glasses. "Business, maybe," he mumbled, but everyone heard the hollow trunk of a dream still in its cardboard box. Beyoncé squeezed his hand under the table as if apologies might substitute for ambition. They both knew they couldn't. As Destiny's Child's second album, The Writings on the Wall, erupted, Beyoncé's inner circle became a conveyor belt of stylists, publicists, and label reps. Image was currency, and she guarded it like Fort Knox. Lyndall struggled to recognize his girlfriend beneath the interview polish. She spoke in careful sound bites, carried a notebook of media training notes, and cut greasy fast food because choreographers demanded stamina. He pulled her aside one steamy night and sighed. "Couldn't we just live a normal life?" Beyoncé's shoulders straightened. "I've dreamed too long to stop now," she said. Only later would Lyndall grasp that he'd asked a comet to slow down for a parked car. Pressure mutated into poor choices. While Beyoncé zigzagged Europe on tour buses, Lyndall hosted party marathons blurred by cheap vodka and one-night hookups. Guilt arrived in bursts, usually when Beyoncé surprised him with late-night calls from another continent. She forgave him more than once, tears soaking hotel pillowcases the next city over. She turned that ache into music, channeling it into demos that would morph into Dangerously in Love and Second Nature, raw Valentines disguised as R&B seductions. The songs testified to devotion, but also to seismic cracks neither wanted to admit. The most public fissure came backstage at a Janet Jackson concert Beyoncé had finagled through label connections. Meeting Janet was a once-in-a-lifetime passport stamp, and Lyndall's nerves detonated. He babbled, stuttered, soaked his collar. Janet chuckled kindly, yet Beyoncé's eyes flashed. This wasn't the polished partnership her media advisors envisioned. She tilted her head toward cousin Angie. Within minutes, Lyndall was outside, concert wristbands still warm, humiliation louder than the bass rattling the arena walls. That night, the distance between superstardom and small-town inertia felt like a canyon with no bridge. Rumors of a new bridge, however, flooded the industry grapevine in 2002. Beyoncé and Brooklyn mogul Jay-Z were working together, maybe together. They had traded studio time for the single 03 Bonnie and Clyde, a metaphor that fit too neatly to be coincidence. Lyndall confronted Beyoncé by phone. She promised, "He isn't even my type," but inconsistencies littered the timeline. When her 21st birthday rolled around in September 2003, Lyndall arrived at her party trembling with equal parts dread and hope. Jay-Z slid in later wearing diamond dust confidence. An entire career of forward motion in one calculated smile. Beyoncé pulled Lyndall into a hallway bathed in strobe light and told him gently, finally, that their story was over. The limo door that closed behind her on the way to an after-party sounded to Lyndall like history slamming shut. For Beyoncé, history erupted into full-color legend. It was 2003 when she released her solo debut Dangerously in Love, won 5 Grammys in one night, and never looked back. She demolished the Super Bowl halftime show twice, headlined Coachella with a college-style marching band that rewrote festival lore, and ran the record-shattering Renaissance World Tour that grossed more than $500 million. Each milestone formed only the crown's glittering peaks. Beneath lay philanthropic bedrock. Her Bay Good Foundation funneled millions into housing relief, scholarships, and small business grants, from Houston hurricane zones to South African townships. Just before her latest stadium run, she quietly slid a hefty check to Texas Southern University's Ocean of Soul Marching Band. One more receipt for a ledger that rarely trends but quietly rescues lives. She also became pop culture's North Star for reinvention. From the feminist manifesto interludes on Beyoncé to the braided tapestry of Black history and heartbreak that is Lemonade, her catalog maps a journey of self-interrogation and fearless storytelling. Critics still debate whether the Grammys chronically shortchange her. Count the nominations, count the wins, yet her scoreboard stretches beyond award shelves. Record deals, fashion lines, multimedia companies, 3 children dancing inside glow cube arenas while their mother bends popular music in real time. Her empire stands as proof that talent alone isn't enough, but relentless intention is. Lyndall stayed in Houston. He managed restaurants, tried community college twice, eventually married someone who wasn't Beyoncé. But every bar TV blaring a halftime show, every TikTok dance challenge tagged #Beyoncé, reminded him of the parallel life that evaporated on Beyoncé's 21st birthday. Reporters tracked him down over the years, 2009, 2015, 2024, and each time he confessed the same regret. "She was the love of my life and I got caught standing still." Friends say he can't listen to Dangerously in Love without pausing, just to let the bittersweet irony breathe. Beyoncé never publicly names him. Her songs, though, leave clues. Early ballads soaked in teenage tenderness, later anthems defiantly celebrating self-worth and the brutal cost of growth. The arc reads like a masterclass in choosing purpose over comfort. Lyndall's story feels less like a tabloid fumble than a morality tale about velocity. Beyoncé was a comet. Lyndall hoped she might hover. She chose jet fuel. He chose cruise control. Every crossroads since has underscored the same math. Ambition multiplies when met with ambition, but it stalls when tethered to hesitation. There is, nevertheless, a softer lesson beneath the spotlight. Beyoncé's destiny demanded sacrifice, sleep, anonymity, even the first boy who truly knew her. Lyndall's downfall was casual comfort, yes, but their split spared him a scrutiny that would have scorched his shy soul. He sometimes jokes that, had things worked out, he'd be the day's dad tripping over cables backstage while his wife bent the universe. Punchline lands gentler each year because time and perspective teach their own choreography. On warm Houston nights, Lyndall can still drive past St. John's Church, roll down the window, and hear the faint ghost of an alto run pouring through cracked brick, the place where lightning first met its bottle. Somewhere beyond city limits, stadium floodlights flicker on, rehearsals begin, and Beyoncé Knowles Carter is stretching her vocal cords for the next impossible note. She will likely hit it. History says she almost always does. Lyndall's chapter ended in that hallway back in 2003, but the question their story poses refuses to close with him. It circles every dreamer standing at a fork in the road. When destiny demands motion, will you sprint or will you stall? Beyoncé sprinted. The rest, as the Glitterline saying goes, is Beyoncé. And Lyndall? He'll be the first to tell you the view from the sideline is both humbling and crystal clear. Greatness only waits so long. Then it grabs the mic, counts to 4, and leaves anyone who hesitates listening to the roar from the cheap seats. So who's gonna be the next person in the limelight? Please like and subscribe for more of the latest celebrity news and updates. I'll see you all in the next one.